taboo subjects that we talk about in the church, and we use money every day. So open your mind, that God wants for you. So he asked the question, how would Jesus invest? We're breaking the poor man's mentality. The poor man's mentality. How would Jesus invest? We're breaking the poor man's mentality. The poor man's mentality. Yeah.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to How Would Jesus Invest? I am Gayle M. Gilmore, and each week my mission is to share about that taboo subject and often dirty words in the church, money and prosperity. Oh, I thank you for joining me today, and please let me know where you are watching me from in the chat. Or if you come on later and you're missing it right now, please put it in the comments. I would love to know where you are watching this from. Also, I would just like for you to remind you to subscribe to this Gem Nugget channel. Like it, share it, comment. And if you'd like to be a blessing to our ministry, Grace and Twine Ministry, please, you may donate or support us at Gem Gifts. Oh my goodness. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's just such a wonderful, we're at the end of September, and we're getting ready to go into a brand new month, the month of October. You know what? I have just really enjoyed sharing on these Saturdays. I know Saturday mornings people want to sleep in and everything. But again, the Lord had just put it on my heart. This is one of the subjects that we do not like to talk about, especially in the church. Well, you know, this show is named after my award-winning book. I named it after my award-winning book, How Would Jesus Invest? And of course, I am the author of several books, but the book, How Would Jesus Invest? It won the 2011 Christian Choice Book Awards in 2011. And I have just been sharing this message because I believe, like Hosea 4:6 says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, especially in the area of finances. This is where it should come from. This is where the root is. As I've said before, there's more references about finances, money, prosperity than it is about faith and salvation. I did research. So again, I thank you for tuning in this morning. If you're tuning in this morning, as I said before, I am the author of 4 books. The first one was one I wrote because of all the violence back, still violence. It Can't Be Boring, a Christian youth program for difficult times. The other one is Miracles of the Exchange, which is kind of a companion to How Would Jesus Invest? And then Only by the Grace of God, the story of Sharon Dixon. I want to take a moment and talk about that book because if you don't know it or not, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But this subject is very close to my heart. We just had a recent incident in one of our sister cities, a case of domestic violence, and the husband was found guilty just this past week. But the subject of domestic violence, just like talking about money and finances, the subject of domestic violence is also a silent subject in the church. And so I want to just show you a clip, and we'll come back and talk about, because this clip is about my dear friend Sharon Dixon. She was just a wonderful woman of God, a prolific missionary, evangelist. But I want you to check out this clip.
Sharon Dixon was shot by her abuser and lived to tell her story in a book. We featured her journey in 2006, and sadly, this update is not good news. Barbara Sierra's in the newsroom with a story you will see only on 3.
You know, every 9 seconds a woman is battered here in the United States, and 33 years ago, Sharon Dixon became one of them. She's been hospitalized over the past 4 weeks. The gunshot that paralyzed her years ago has created a new set of health problems, and now a strong local voice against domestic violence is temporarily silent. She was so brave when she told us her story back in 2006. The gunshot that changed her young life.
The gun went off, and it went through my nipple, and it came out in my back.
She recalled how her husband became even more abusive after she was confined to a wheelchair.
He got angry with me, so he slapped me out of the wheelchair onto the floor.
Sharon told her story to Gayle Gilmore, who put her words into print. The book is titled, Only by the Grace of God. Each book signing encouraged women in Hampton Roads to fight back against domestic abuse. Mary Alice Good told me Sharon's words changed lives when she spoke before her women's ministry.
There are women right in the church who are going through these things, and they're just not talked about.
Gayle, Sharon's friend and author, visits Sharon every week in the hospital.
I believe that she would want everybody to know.
She feels if Sharon can't speak, others will speak for her against domestic violence.
She's forgiven. She's turned negatives into positives, but there still can be lingering consequences, and hers is physical.
Sharon was scheduled to do another book signing next month, as she has in the past. Mary Good's ministry pledges to tell her story, even if she can't be there to tell it herself.
Because she really is someone that everybody needs to know about, women especially, and everywhere.
Sharon left her husband after years of abuse, and 1 week later, he was killed in a gambling dispute. Sharon's story and book will be featured at an event sponsored.
Yes, as we said, again, that subject, just like wealth, is something that we don't talk about in the church. And that's something that's always been dear to my heart. And every October during this time, I always like to encourage you, if you would purchase a copy of Only by the Grace of God, so you get her whole story. There's another thing that I always include, and it's this pamphlet from the Her Shelter. The Her Shelter was a place where Sharon found refuge when she was going through her abusive episodes. And it says it shouldn't hurt to be a woman. And this pamphlet has been very helpful. And I always include it with a copy of Sharon's book. And also what I do in October is every book sale in October, I give a portion to the Her Shelter. So please support that if you would. Again, this is another subject that we don't talk about in the church. And I tell you, it's for real. I mean, women are affected everywhere. Like it says, every 9 seconds, a woman is being abused in the United States. And even we did things, book signings, seminars, we did radio things, and you would be surprised about the people that would come forward. And we always believe if people would open up and not be silent, a lot of it would have been prevented. We know that. We knew that. Sharon passed in 2008, but her story still is still lingering on. You know, if you go to barnesandnoble.com, you will see all the reviews about this book. So we're going to get into, again, what we're coming here for. The other subject is that about finances. Also, I want to let you know that I have been married to a wonderful man for 41 years, and that's Pastor James E. Gilmore. Sr., and he is the founding pastor of Grace Entwined Ministries, and I serve as his co-pastor. Our church is located at 3923 Deep Creek Boulevard. And if you're ever in this area that we call Tidewater, the Hampton Roads area, come and visit us at Grace Entwined Ministries. Yes, if you're ever in the Tidewater, Hampton Roads area, come and visit us at Grace Entwined Ministries. We call ourselves the Gym, 3923 Deep Creek Boulevard in the city of Portsmouth. And our services are every Sunday at 10 a.m. All right. I always like to look and see who is out here today. Let's see who woke up this morning is out here today. Oh, Sister Edna Dukes, she is in the house. Good morning, Sister Dukes. Pastor is here, and those that are on Facebook Live, welcome, welcome, welcome. And again, feel free to share, put your comments in the chat. Even if you come on after this broadcast is over, put it in the comments. Again, I want to know how this is helping you, where you're watching this from. And Sister Carrie is in the house. She just popped up there. Good morning, Sister Carrie. Got to say something about Sister Carrie in a minute as well. But again, welcome, welcome, welcome to How Would Jesus Invest? All right. Last week, our subject was talking about how kingdom investments yield kingdom returns. And we was talking about that ROI and return on investments. And I got to say again, congratulations to Miss Diana Carey, because we had a contest that was going on. You had to know your acronyms. ROI was one of them, return on investment, and what now meant, and what the Bible meant, and what debt, our acronym for debt. And congratulations again to Sister Diana Carey. She won that $100 Visa gift card. So again, congratulations. But today we are back. And for those of you, maybe you're just seeing this for the first time, you can go back and watch these past episodes. This is the 5th episode that we have been on, but go back and check it. It's on the Gym Nugget channel. That's why you need to be subscribed, so you can just check out everything. All right. We're going to get to the subject at hand. And today I want to talk about budgeting. And I say counting the cost. It's counting the cost. And somebody said, well, what is a budget? Well, a budget is an estimate of income and expenditures for a set period of time. In other words, you are looking at what you bring in, what your income in, versus what you have to pay out, expenditures. And what we can do, we can either set up a mental budget, or we can put it down on paper. Because one of the things that we have to realize in life, we have to make sure, especially when we're dealing with finances, we have to count up the cost. You know, today they say if something doesn't happen by midnight tonight, the government is going to shut down. And all kinds of people are going to be affected. You know, the military, they're not going to get paid. Some families and mothers that get WIC and all those types of things, they're all going to be affected. And we are praying that God just touches these people and just have some kindness in their heart. Because, you know, it was talking about the people that are making these decisions, they still going to get paid. And somebody said, well, you need to shut down their paycheck. You know, you're going to do this to everybody else. But we're praying either way that God changes their hearts, or if it shuts down, that God is still going to provide. But when we talk about budgeting, there's a verse in Luke 14:28, 1428. And, you know, a lot of times we have to count the costs. We need to count the costs. It says, for which of you intending to build a tower sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? You know, and that's what budgeting is all about. Now, what it really comes down is that we have to be able to identify our needs versus our wants. Because a lot of times we think we need what we want, but we have to look at the things that we need that are necessary and the things that we want when we talk about a budget. I know a lot of people say, well, you know, I kind of know in my head, you know, what's going in and what's coming out. But sometimes it's helpful to have it down on paper. You know, the reason I say that sometimes, because especially when we're doing technology and we're paying things online, and sometimes we think about, well, say for instance, if you have a subscription to something like Netflix, and then they take these little things, you know, those little things add up. And I want to also, and this is just something that I think will help a lot of people. I know it's helped us, you know, especially when we're dealing with bank accounts. Check your bank accounts, because sometimes they're taking, somebody's coming in your account and taking little things out, and those little things add up. We've had that experience. Pastor and I know one time Pastor looked at his account and they were taking $1 out here, and Google and this and that, and those things was adding up like 20 something, you know. And then you look again, and sometimes the banks are really good and they inform you that somebody is taking. And I know one time we had something coming, somebody, they said we had made a purchase at Macy's in New York. We ain't even been to New York, but anyway, you just have to be careful. And also count those little things that may not seem that big at first, like those, if you can do it, you know, Netflix and all that type of stuff. But sometimes you have to go back and see what's really not necessary. I can give you a good example just lately. I love reading the newspaper. I like the newspaper. I like the paper in my hand, turn the pages. But guess what? I was paying like $100 and some every 3 or 4 months, whatever it was, to get the paper. And I noticed they kept saying, well, the cost is going up, the cost is going up. And now it's up to $245 to get the paper delivered for 3 months. I said, as much as I like holding that paper, let me see if I can do something different. And so I checked it out. I said, oh, I can get it digitally. I really hate doing it digitally, but I'm going to have to do it digitally because it's too much. Because $7 a month versus $245 for 3 months. Now, so today, September 30th, is the last day I'm getting the paper to hold in my hand. I'm gonna have to go up here, and they got everything online. So I should have did it a good while ago. So I will be watching my paper. I will be reading my paper online. But getting back to this budget, the budget is important. And I'm going to mention something that maybe y'all don't want to hear. Good morning, Princess. I see you up here this morning. We got to get down to this money thing. This might help somebody out, you know, looking at our needs and our wants. I hope you can look at this very closely if you're going to put it on paper. And this particular budget sheet has something that most budget sheets do not have. If you look at under expenses, and I love this budget sheet because people don't really think about this. Tithes and offerings is at the top. You should put your priority expenses first. Your needs. You need You need food. You need, it also comes second is savings. But the things that you really need, you got to look out for your food, kind of think about how much you are going to have a budget, how much you're going to pay for your food. We know food is going up. I know when we first got married, I had my calculator and paper because I was adding up the food as I was going through, because you want to make sure you don't go over the budget. Because there are some things that, your eyes just look. That's why it's good to make a list when you go grocery shopping, because if you don't have a grocery list, you just see this and see that, and that'll help you too. And then, of course, make sure that your mortgage or your rent, these are important things, utility, transportation, if you got a car note, if you budget for the gas, and of course your other debt payments. I'm trying to look at this closely too. Medical, like your medications and things like that. Now I'm gonna tell you something about clothing. I'm still wearing clothes that I've had for years. So clothing is really not in the budget. I just add that if that happens to come out, if you have school expenses and those other things. Now, we're not saying that you should just not, do anything, as far as entertainment, but make sure that you prioritize what you're doing. And of course, savings. We need to try to put things aside for savings. As I look at, and that's going to be my exchange nugget for today. We need to budget even for emergencies. But budgets help. Budgets, if it's a mental budget, or if you got to put it on paper, you need to have a budget. Well, I'm gonna just go ahead and skip to my exchange nugget. Like I said, I'm not going to be up here too long, but I just wanted to emphasize the importance of a budget. And another thing that we should include, my exchange nugget today, just like this is a perfect example of when we talk about budgeting and this government shutdown. I had mentioned once before, when we had the recession back in, I think it was 2007, 2008, for a lot of us, because of things that we had done and prepare and saving and stuff, the recession, that did not affect us. And I think about, I was looking at, listening to the news, paying close attention. If this shutdown happened, who would it affect? I want to let those of you know that if you receive Social Security, it will not affect your Social Security, because that is protected. That is something that you have worked for, you have set aside. Now, they would want to mess with that, but that is protected. That's why we encourage young people. I know sometimes I don't want to work it. It adds up, y'all. It adds up. It adds up. Those of you that are working, consider getting into a 401k, or for school system with 403b. Now, the thing with the 401k, which I love, was that company would match your contribution to your 401k. Now, when I got into education, they didn't match anything. So whatever I put in, that's what I got. So those are ways that we can save. And if it comes down to it, just put away something like our grandmamas and aunts did. Have you a little something, let's put some raw money away, because maybe raw money might be better. Because if you notice, when we have these disasters and everything, and the power shuts down and you can't use your bank card in this, you got to have some raw money. You got to have some raw money. So I would, when I say here, budget at least 3 to 6 months of income for emergencies. Include, and my husband likes to call it raw money, include some cash, include some paper that you can put your hands on and you can use, because that's like people trying to get gas and so forth, and cut the gas pumps were down because of the power. So these are things that we need to think of, because that's my exchange nugget. Budget at least 3 to 6 months of income for emergencies, and include cash and raw money. And remember, look at what is a priority, a need versus a want. Because a lot of times we see our wants as something that we need, and we don't need it all the time. You know, there's a lot of things that I've never been an extravagant person in the first place. You know, at one point, you know, I was getting my nails done on a regular basis. I said, no, that's adding up. Okay, I just cut them. One thing, I'm going to keep my hair. I got a regular appointment for my hair. But, you know, things like that. But you have to prioritize. You have to prioritize what is a need and what is a want. And so that is the purpose of a budget. Although you might know it all in your head, what's going out and what's coming in, but it's also helpful to see it. When you see it on paper and you see it written down, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. Even check your, like if you have loans and credit, look at those interest rates. Every little thing adds up. And it becomes a more and more of expense. So, you know, check your budgets. If you can make some changes, go into loans that have lower interest payments, because them little things, like I say, like we were checking our accounts and they take $1 out here and $1 out there, and then later on somebody said we were spending $20 or $30 at Macy's in New York. Check your bank account, make sure. And if when you, most of the time, when you let the banks know that I did not make this transaction, they'll take care of it and that money goes back into your account. We know this. We know this has happened to us. So budget, pay attention to your bank accounts and things like that, because people are just treacherous these days. They're just trying to steal everything. So make sure that is it for today. Counting the cost, budgeting, counting the cost. Again, I thank you for tuning in today, and I'm going to be back next week. Again, I urge you, if you would love to get the books, especially How Would Jesus Invest? Breaking the Poor Man's Mentality, I would urge you to get that book and order it from GraceAndTwineMinistries.com. And that's the only place you can get it now, from GraceAndTwineMinistries.com, and also my award-winning book, How Would Jesus Invest? Now, How Would Jesus Invest is also available on Amazon.com and all, but I would suggest, I think I'm going to give you a better deal if you order it from GraceAndTwineMinistries.com. But I thank you for joining me this week. We are hitting 30 minutes. That was my goal, that this would only be about 30 minutes. But again, I thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me today. Sister Edna, she said, yes, amen. And again, if you're watching this later, please let me know that you're watching and where you're watching from. But this week, this has been How Would Jesus Invest? Breaking the Poor Man's Mentality. See you next week.
It seems like money is a taboo subject that we talk about in the church, and we use money every day. So open your mind, that God wants for you. So he asked the question, how would Jesus invest? We're breaking the poor man's mentality. The poor man's mentality. How would Jesus invest? We're breaking the poor man's mentality. The poor man's mentality.